Welcome to Stepdad Success, turning the tide on the way stepdads are seen and show up in the world. We're a new breed of leaders raising leaders. Blood or no blood, we raise them as our own. We're connected, loving, and committed to leading them into the future. If you asked a normal dad, he'd say we're doing the impossible. He'd say, but they're not yours. How do you do it? Yet every day, stepdads around the world are forging the way. That's what we call Stepdad Success. We're leaders raising leaders. And these are our stories. Good morning, stepdads. This is James Klobasser for Stepdad Success. And I wanted to ask you this morning, what are you feeding yourself? And more so, what are you feeding your family? I had a buddy here this week and he stayed a couple of days and we were hanging out and, just shooting the breeze as guys do. And we got into, those late night philosophical discussions. Went deep on a lot of topics around consciousness and, that kind of in-depth mental discussions. And we shifted gears in the morning. We headed out for coffee and jumped on the push bikes and headed out the back gate. And we rode down to a little coffee shop just down the road on the beach and sat there and kind of enjoyed the morning sun. And we were having a coffee and we were discussing, the bigger picture of the globe at the moment. And what's happening, in the globe, on the globe. And we were looking at all of the different media that gets put out. And now we're based in Australia, obviously, but we get CNN, NBC, and like all the different ABC and all the different channels. We also get all the newspapers, we access Facebook and all the rest of it. And we were talking about the news and how it reports to the rest of the world. Now, obviously, their job is to make money, and they do a very good job of that. But we kind of came up with the point that they don't actually do a good job of reporting the news. And I'm sure a lot of you may feel the same way about this. And really, the conversation here isn't whether they do a good job or not. It's if you are actually allowing it in. With the news, we can, and really with ourselves, I want to say first of all, with ourselves, we can choose what we allow in. We don't have to watch the news. We don't have to read the newspapers. We don't have to stay up to date on global events. It really is a choice. For you, I'm wondering, maybe you should ask yourself the question, as I asked at the start, what are you allowing in? What are you feeding your family? What are you feeding yourself? As we sat there in the sun drinking our coffee, it was a beautiful morning. We discussed the newspapers and the headlines. We discussed news reports at night. And I think if you step back from your own position, you'll see that most of these are negative. And really, probably 99% of all media news is negative in some way. As they say, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. Which means if it's not shock, horror, gory, bleeding, horrific news, it doesn't hit the front page because that's what sells. We've been trained as a society to react to bad news, and the newspapers take advantage of that. They take advantage of promoting negative news to make more money. So I wanted you to look into your family today and just understand how you are reacting to the news, how you are consuming your news, and how you are choosing your news. Because it's key. It is key to you becoming a better leader. If you have your mind filled with negativity every morning, or every afternoon on the way home in the car, or every evening sitting in front of the box, that is programming you. It's programming you to respond in a different way to life, to people around you, to your loved ones, to your children. And it's up to you to choose a better way. As we say with the podcast, you get to choose a different way. As stepdads, we get to choose a different way. We get to lead. We get to raise the next generation of leaders. Do we want them consuming all of this essentially propaganda, in quotes, quote unquote, propaganda that is negative news? Or do we want both ourselves and our family and the loved ones around us to consume something more valuable to us? There's a ton of media outlets out there. There's a ton of platforms where you can consume content, can consume motivational content, inspiring content, entertaining content. And I think the time is shifting, and we need to start this ourselves, is shift our own consumption. Like it's not healthy and not productive for us to be consuming negative content all the time. And maybe you've switched off from the news a long time ago, as I did. Maybe you take it in every so often just to stay abreast of what's actually happening. But on the whole, you have to ask yourself, what are you feeding yourself? What are you feeding your family? What are you feeding your loved ones, even your clients? What are you feeding your staff around you? Understand that. Maybe walk into the office today, or maybe, even at home, sit down with your journal and, ask, what are you watching at the gym? What are you consuming? Are you standing on the walking machine reading, the newspaper, watching the news? Switch it off. Put some motivational tunes in your mind. Put a great inspiring podcast on. Same in your family. Do you come home at night and switch on the local news? Maybe switch it off for a night. Maybe switch on your Apple TV, or maybe just connect your computer to the TV and watch something inspiring on Netflix. You have a choice in what you consume, and you should be making a positive one there. Not just for yourself, but for your children and your loved ones. That's all for today. Thanks very much for listening. And I just wanted to remind you, if you are interested in the 4-Dimensional Man training that is running at present, please reach out to me. We can have a one-on-one conversation about that. That is essentially you being held accountable to having it all in your life. So reach out to me about that one if you'd like to know more information about that. And I'd love to talk to you soon. Thank you. Would you like to learn more about how stepdads across the globe are joining forces in raising the next generation of leaders? Then head to www.stepdadsuccess.com and grab all the show notes plus a copy of the brand new tactical guide for creating more happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom as a stepdad. And if you liked the podcast, please share it with other stepdads you know and leave us a review on iTunes. Again, that's www.stepdadsuccess.com for all the show notes and tactical guide. Come and join the new breed of stepdads, the growing group of leaders raising leaders.